What's up, guys? It's Jacob from TCG Buzz back at it again with another Dragon Ball Super deck profile. Now, before we begin, make sure to subscribe and let us know in the comments below what Dragon Ball Super decks you'd like to see deck profiles of in the future. We always love to see support for this game, and it encourages us to keep making videos. So recently, I've been getting really big into drafts for Dragon Ball Super. I've done a couple, and they're incredibly fun, and it's one of my favorite games to do drafts of. And recently, I did a draft, and I experimented with a leader card I'd never used before. And this is him, Chilled. Chilled is the ancient ancestor of Frieza and Cooler and King Cold, so he's pretty cool like that. So this is the leader card, and he's got 10k, obviously. And when he attacks, you get to summon a Chilled's Army token. So this is a token deck primarily. The nice thing about it is they do have 10k power. Check this out. I'm using more copies of the leader just as the tokens for now. I might do something else later, but I think this is good use for extra leader cards. And it looks cool. So the benefit to that is you can very early on get a whole bunch of 10Ks out on the board. And this deck has a lot of great things going for it. Lots of good offense and defense. But the special thing about this deck is it is incredibly budget friendly. In fact, there's only one set of rares in this deck and 0 SRs. It's really easy to build this deck, and it's a pretty strong deck, honestly. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. It's not going to be, trading blows with Cell or Zamasu, or Ginyu, I guess. But anything else, set 1 decks, it can pretty handily destroy. It can do really well against, starter decks, stuff like that. Mid-range decks, too. Things like Broly, it can do well against Beerus. And it's also, because it's so cheap, it's a great way to get people into the game. Build a copy of this deck, give it away to a friend so they get interested in the game, stuff like that. So the leader card here, he gets you that token. And then when he awakens, he's kind of special. He's one of 2 cards in the game currently that awakens at 6 life instead of 4. So you get to awaken really easily, which also is a benefit because stall decks don't hurt him that much. And you'll see part of that reason why once we flip him over. So he's weird because he still has a base of 10k power. So he doesn't get that power boost that most leader cards do, meaning he doesn't have the greatest defense, but you will compensate that with some of the cards in the deck. And he does get plus 5,000 power during your turn, so he is still able to hit the 15k on his own, which is important for attacking other awakened leaders. And he gets the ability, whenever he attacks now, you also get to draw a card and spam another token to the field. So that's the leader. And now we're going to get into the deck. The leader's got a bit of a weakness with defense, but the deck really compensates for that. And it really takes advantage of the fact that you're going to have a ton of little chumps on the field. So we're going to move on, and we're going to start with our battle cards. This deck is basically mono yellow. There is one Tekken that is not, but it doesn't really matter. It's basically a mono yellow deck, and we're going to start with the battle cards. And this deck's kind of unique because it does not run any 1-drops at all, because you don't need 1-drops because you're getting things out from your tokens. So we're going to start with Pivotal Defense Cyclopian Guard. This card isn't really meant for this deck, but it's a great card. It's a 2-drop with blocker with 20k, which is ridiculous. And if Big Getastar is not in your battle area, this card cannot attack. So you can't go aggro with this card, but you're not caring about that. It's a 2-drop 20k blocker. Why would you not want to play this? It's so fun of a card because your opponent oftentimes doesn't expect something like this, and it can wall out so many things. As only a 2-drop, you can play it turn 2. It's great. Next, we have another 2-drop. We have Kabira, the Obedient Soldier. This is one of the cards in the deck that synergizes with the tokens. It's one of the cards that will allow you to do something fun with the tokens. He is a 10k blocker for 2, which is decent. And he has a skill, Activation Battle, once per turn. Switch one of your chilled army tokens into rest mode. Choose one of your chilled or chilled's army. It gains +5 till the end of the battle. So the cool thing about this is it's an activation battle skill, meaning you can use it during your opponent's turn as well. You can use it during your turn to help these tokens. Say you got 2 tokens on the field and your opponent's awaken and you still want to go aggro and rush them with these. You can attack with one, activate his skill, rest the other so they can actually hit numbers. This card has a lot of options for both offense and defense, and that's why I like it so much. Next, this is a fairly obvious one. We have Dodoria, the Emperor's Attendant. Dodoria's skill, if your leader is yellow and you have 4 life or less, when you combo with this card, it gets +10 and you get to draw a card. It's a 4 of staple in all yellow decks because it's a good card. Next, we have a 3-drop. We have Zarbon, the Emperor's Attendant. You're basically never going to play him on field. During your opponent's turn, when you combo with this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to active mode. Or one of your battle cards, sorry. So the idea with this is you've got a couple of high cost cards in the deck that you're going to be going all out with, and then they're rested after you attack with them. And then on your opponent's turn, you combo with this, stand them back up so your opponent can't attack them, because they will want to, because this deck has some great pressure units in it. Next, we have the only non-yellow card in the deck. This is Champa. Furthering Destruction Champa. When you combo with this card, choose the card in battle and give it double strike. There are a lot of good targets for this. Particularly, we'll get into some of them. It's just an all-around great card to match the deck's good defense with offense. And I really enjoy playing it. It's surprising how many games I've won just because of that card. Next, we have another yellow card. This is a really great staple. We have Destructive Occupation Frieza. It's a 3-drop, but you're never going to use that. Its skill, when you combo with this card at the end of the combo, you get to call it at rest mode. So the idea is you have this in your hand at the beginning of the game from either your initial draw or your mulligan, and you set down your energy and you just end your turn. Your opponent starts their turn. They go in for an attack. You pay your 1, and you get a 3-drop, 15k, right on the board at the very beginning. And that's just wonderful. It's a great card for early or even late game. Next card we have is Mecha-Frieza, the Returning Terror. This is another 4-of. There are a lot of 4-ofs in this deck. It's an excellent card. It's a staple in a lot of yellow decks because it's just so good. It's a 4-drop with dual attack, so it gets to attack twice in a turn. With 15k, that's pretty good already. But what really makes it is its skill. Auto, when you play this card, you may place 1 card from your hand into the drop area. If you do, choose up to 2 of your opponent's rest mode battle cards and KO them. And then this card gets double strike till the end of turn. So the turn you play it as a 4-drop, you're losing an extra 1 from hand, but you're attacking with a dual attacking double striker and potentially getting rid of 2 of your opponent's battle cards. It's fantastic. Next we have Toby, the Obedient Soldier. He's got double strike for 4, and he has an activation main skill. Switch one of your chilled army tokens into rest mode, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and put that card in rest mode. Great synergy with a lot of other cards in the deck, and you can get rid of blockers with him when you're going and pushing for game. Next, we have our only 5-drop, and actually the highest cost card in the deck. Here he is, the only rare in the deck as well, Chilled Army General. This is the card that ties together the entire deck, and he is so fun to run. So, he's a 5-drop with 25k power, permanent. All of your Chilled Army tokens, which by the time you play him, you should have like 5 of them on board, are able to combo in rest mode, and they gain combo of 5,000 for 0 cost. So this turns all these cards that in early game are really aggro into late game defensive cards, which is fantastic because of the fact that they can't really hit numbers in the late game. So now you just use them for your combos. Second skill is the one that's really exciting, though. Switch one of your chilled army tokens into rest mode. This card gets triple strike until end of turn. So he gets triple strike. Yes, triple strike. 25k triple strike for 5. And the fact that he's on the board means that resting one of these tokens, going whoop, doesn't matter anymore because you're still just comboing with it. So you're getting triple strike virtually for free on him. And don't be surprised when you get him out and you attack with him. Your opponent's going to go for it, but you can easily defend him. And then next turn play another one and sit there with 2 triple strikers. Moving on from the battle cards, we have all of the extra cards. This lineup's kind of interesting. Unfortunately, because Chilled is not a Frieza clan, or Frieza army, I mean, you cannot run Cold Bloodlust in this deck, which is a shame, but you do have a lot of other great cards. So starting off, we have 4 Crusher Ball. Crusher Ball is a 1-drop, and it rests a card on enter. Just a fantastic card to get rid of cards with really good on-attack skills. For example, Beerus is a good card that you'd use that on, or Zamasu's 7-drop. Then we have 2 copies of Bad Ring Laser. This is another 1-drop. Counter. So you counter your opponent's counter, and you place 1 yellow card from your hand into the drop area, and you negate that counter. So this is important because when you're swinging with that massive 25k triple strike, you don't want your opponent to just be able to negate the attack. So you're going to use the Bad Ring Laser, if you can. Then we have 2 copies of Death Razor. It's a 2-cost card. Both have to be yellow. That's fine. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards that is in rest mode and KO it. So this can be good for a lot of cards, especially your opponent's big drops. It's just a fun card to be running. And one of my personal favorite cards in the deck, we have Darkness I-Beam. So Darkness I-Beam is a 2-cost card, and you choose all of your opponent's battle cards and switch them to rest mode. So this is 2 great things you can do with it, synergy-wise. One, you can use that when you've got your Childs out on the field to just go crazy after you rest all their blockers, or it also synergizes really well with Mecha-Frieza, since Mecha-Frieza can KO 2 of the cards that are in rest mode. So that's why I'm running it at 4. And the last card we have in the deck is 2 copies of Recoome Eraser Gun. Recoome Eraser Gun, it's a counter attack. If your leader card is yellow, negate the attack. Afterwards, the opponent's battle card are unable to attack for the duration of the turn. You can just shut your opponent down. It's especially great if they attack with their leader first, which a lot of players tend to do. So you're just shutting down their entire turn for attacks. It's fantastic. So that is the entire deck. Sideboard options are a lot of good cards. There are some great yellow cards you could use for Disruption, or you could use cards like Jocko or Goten from green as great sideboard options. It's a very fun deck, and I'm surprised at how well it plays. If you guys want to see some matches with this deck, let me know in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching. Like this video, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and stay classy.